call this regular meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. I'm going to ask our road supervisor, Bobby Groves, if he would mind to lead us in a prayer this morning, and after that we'll have the pledge to the flag.
Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings you provide for us each day. And we know that we fail you. We thank you for the grace and the mercy that you show us and pour upon us. Father,
as we go through this day, we ask you to guide and direct us in all we do. We pray for your blessings and your hand to watch over this community and our country. We thank you for the people that serve here.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, yeah, we got an item or two to deal with since we just met a week ago. First thing, gentlemen, is to approve the minutes of the June 25th special called fiscal court meeting. I need a motion and a second to approve those minutes if there's no changes or corrections needed.
So moved.
Got a motion by Jeffrey.
Second.
Second by Scott. Are there any questions or discussion to the minutes? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then you remember last meeting, we had the Soil Conservation District here, and they were asking for us to approve their plan of work. It wasn't on the agenda, and it was special called, so you've got the plan of work here on the portal. We just need a motion and a second to approve what their plan of work is scheduled to be.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty.
Second.
Second by Myron. Any question or discussion about that? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is resolution for the county clerk to have an $8,300 grant, the Help America Vote Act grant. These are for voter privacy booths, and it would require the signature of the judge executive to accept this grant. So we need a motion and a second to approve this resolution for that grant.
So moved.
I heard Myron and Scott at the same time, so we can take our pick, Pam. We'll give it to Myron and second it to Scott.
That's fine.
Any question, discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is the safe room contract for professional services, and those professional services will be rendered by the BRAD at a cost of $2,500, which will come from the grant proceeds. Y'all recall, we've been approved for that safe room, and they're working on the design of it right now, but then we've got to have the professional services to guide us through the grant and putting it all together. So this is a contract we would have with the BRAD for them to oversee that part of this project, and it would require the judge's signature. So I need a motion and a second to enter into this contract and authorize the county judge's signature.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty.
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The next two items, gentlemen, are just follow-ups to the budget that we was able to have final reading on the budget ordinance. These are just employee resolutions with salaries that reflect the CPI and raises that were given. And on the first one here is resolution number 2024-07-02 EMP. And like I said, this is reflective of the CPI and raises per the budget.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty.
Second.
Second by Myron. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Now you will see the follow-up item here is in the similar vein, but if y'all recall, we have one firefighter that's out on work comp that's not in the actual rotation. So this employee resolution just reflects the CPI and the raise for him, but on a different work schedule via work comp instead of the rotating schedule, if that makes sense, or the rotating shields. Is that clear as mud? Because see, all the other firefighters are on this 24/7 rotating shift, and So while this one individual is out on work comp, they're still a straight 40-hour week instead of the rotating schedule. So we had to do this resolution separate to reflect that work schedule, but it's still the same CPI and
So you're
salary.
gonna get work comp and?
No. But his work comp is based on salary, so this just reflects what his salary would be if he were working, because you get 2/3.
66 and
Si-
2/3.
yeah,
And he
60.
turns his work comp check into us.
Yeah, I mean, we're paying him this rate, and we get his work comp check back.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
You need
I didn't want him hitting both.
Yes,
work
I do
comp.
need a motion on this
Okay.
employee
It's
resolution.
illegal for both.
Yeah, that's what I was
You
thinking.
can't draw both.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Scott's
Scott's got a motion to approve this employee resolution 2024-07-02 EMP FSFR. Myron's got a second. All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. The next one, if we have a question, we can direct this to Bobby, but this is request for 80/20 bridge funds for Roby Bethel Grove culvert replacement. And this is just to approve a request for the funds, and it would probably would need my signature on it.
I think, if I'm correct, in the past, they've done two motions. They did a motion to approve the project because of the cost, and then did a motion to apply for the 80/20. I believe that's what it's done in the past. However,
Do we have a cost on the project?
I have the budget, yeah, it's an estimate.
Okay, and what's the estimated
The
budget?
budget is $200,000.
Okay.
High.
So we initially need to have a motion to approve the work for this?
They've done that in the past.
Okay.
I don't know if that's the proper way to do it.
Probably a good idea.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the Roby Bethel Bridge project for the $200,000 that's budgeted for that project.
So moved.
I got a motion by Jeffrey,
Second.
a second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. All right, now I need a motion and a second to approve submitting the request for the 80/20 bridge funding and authorize the judge to sign that request, which would mean we would get back 80% of these funds. And the likelihood it gets approved is pretty high, huh?
Pretty much, I've never had one not.
Yeah. All right, so we got a motion by Myron to approve the request.
Second.
Got a second by Marty. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is to approve the fiscal year 24-25 flex roads. This includes sections of Lake Springs and Barn School Road at an approximate cost of $245,000.
Are these what the state chose?
Yeah, this is for the funding of, 140, I mean, the flex fund will not cover all that, but we have to get what we can out of it.
Or is it also including the shoulder? Or you
No, it's just resurfacing. Flex just pays for resurfacing the structure, the road.
Okay. That's fine. I'd like to see the shoulder when they do this.
We've got 15,000 budgeted out of LGA for shoulder work, so different roads.
All right, so we got a motion by Marty to approve this flex fund expenditure.
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. And gentlemen, the next two items obviously are reflective of the fiscal year budget that was passed. If y'all recall, we approved the sheriff and clerk's budget at the beginning of the year, and then when we make the budget and work on salaries and so on and so forth, if need be, we have to go back and make these amendments. So we need a motion and a second to approve the amended sheriff's 2024 budget. Got a motion by Myron. Second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye. Any opposed? And then, as y'all recall, also, we have to establish maximum salaries on those two offices. Am I understanding correctly, Mr. Clerk, that the way you had structured yours and because of staffing, you feel like yours is okay? So, but with the sheriff's, his staffing doesn't really change, but what we decided to do did. So we need to, a motion and a second to reestablish the amended sheriff's 2024 order that sets the deputies' maximum salaries to reflect the changes in our budget.
So much.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Myron. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, gentlemen, next, obviously last Tuesday, the 25th, we had the bid openings. We only received 2 bids for the county clerk's building. We have Chris Spur with Spur Architecture and Neil and Ted with Spur here with us today. You had the information on the portal there of the two bids, and also the sheet that talks about our funding for it. Obviously, my recommendation would be that we go with the lesser of those 2 bids, and between the ARPA funding, the minimum, what we believe is the minimum on the sale of the current building, and then the minimum, and we can talk about this more if we need to, what we believe to be the minimum probably that we could reach on tax and value engineering money. It would leave a remaining balance of just over $380,000. You see what our current unencumbered cash balance is, the current general fund CD we have, the prior year surplus, and to put that in perspective, on the December 2019 financial statement, it shows an unencumbered cash balance of about 1/3 of what our current cash balance is. It was about 2.1 versus where we're at the moment. So in talking with Nicole and just going through where we're at and what we have, she was comfortable in saying that we could easily do $500,000 to $600,000 from capital expense to cover that offset. It's possible that we could receive more money in, or have a bigger discount in some tax savings. It's also possible that we could get a little more out of the building than what's here. It's just, I know this number is correct.
What tax savings are there?
So in the bid, when the folks bid this, and if I start saying something that's not right, one of y'all jump up here and grab this microphone. But we've been over this. So when the contractor is bidding this, they're bidding all of the equipment with the tax they have to pay on it. So like if they're buying a $20,000 piece of equipment, they're paying 6% sales tax on it. Once we award a contract, we can negotiate the purchase of those ourselves. So like heat and air equipment, elevator, different things, we can purchase directly from the supplier, and we will save all of that tax money because we would be tax exempt.
Okay.
And the feeling is there's easily $50,000 just in taxable amounts that we can save by directly purchasing equipment. Is that, that's accurate?
You've taken that off of that.
Well, in here, I mean,
Yeah.
the bid reflects
Right.
the bid with tax included and everything, and then so if you look at what the low bid amount was, deducting
Right.
what the ARPA funding is, deducting what I know, and I mean, I just do because I do know what the least amount we can get out of that building,
Uh-huh.
and what we believe to be at least the least amount we can realize in tax savings, it leaves that remaining balance that would have to be covered. And if the building were to bring more,
Right.
because, and I assume, Counselor, we can't just straight sell the building. We would either have to advertise it as for sale, like market it, or possibly advertise it for sealed bids,
Or you could auction it.
Or an auction.
or do an auction.
Which I would not recommend.
Yeah.
But I'm just, yes, the short answer is you would have to advertise it for sale. And you could do, I think you can do sealed bids, but it's not like you can just.
We can't just go up to somebody and say, hey, we want to sell this building, will you buy it?
Right. That is correct.
But just through research, I can tell you that we would at least get this amount out of that building and possibly more, depending on how the bidding process were to work. So it's possible that the tax number and the building number could be higher, which reduces what our contribution would be. Now, and here again, y'all correct me if I'm wrong here, but if you do need to correct me, I do ask you to come up to the mic, because we're videoing this, and if you want to come on up here, Chris, yeah, that way you can stop me and say, whoa, Judge, that's not right. But once we award the contract, then we'll be able to go through and look at all the different items, and so we really kind of control whether we go over. So like once we see, okay, like per se on brick, they figured X per thousand on brick.
Right.
As long as we stay in what they've allotted, this number doesn't change.
That's
the only way this number changes is if we direct them to do additional work or choose an option that is outside of what they figured. But, you know, and I think Myron would agree with this, with the two bids we did receive, I think are both from very competent contractors.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And they were within, I mean, it's not
tight.
like, it's not
It was
like the
tight
high
number.
bidder was like, it's not like this person was like $500,000 less.
Very
than
close.
They
Very
were close
close.
bids, so I mean, I
Very
feel like they've covered what needs to be covered and dealt with.
That's right.
The things that need to be dealt with, and y'all have reviewed all of that.
Yes, and the numbers were very close, and that's what we look for, you know, on our end and for yours.
And they did core drilling and everything down there.
Yes.
Because see, that's what the library got into. They didn't, I don't think the engineer that drew it up, I don't think he did the job he needed to do. And then when they went to building it, they found out, oh, this is a $500,000 change order.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
we
stopped
had-
over and talked to the guy the day they were core drilling down there.
I just, you know,
We had
you hate to see something like that happen.
Yeah.
We had Owner Consulting Engineering Services perform geotech, and they used that, and also our structural engineer got a copy of that for their design as well.
Well, it is a lot of money, no doubt about it. But we have been talking about this for, I don't know, how long we've been talking about this thing? 10, 12 years
At least.
or more. We have, in the past, have looked at even, talked about moving Clark back over here to the courthouse. We've talked about different scenarios. You know, like I say, it is a lot of money, but so is anything else we do. This is something that would be here 40, 50 years from now. You know, better parking for the community. It's still within walking distance from the square for the people that use it every day. And as we've said before, everybody uses this building at least once a year. I mean, it's not something that only a few will use. My personal opinion is that we go forward with this. And if there's no questions, then, I mean, I'll be glad to put it in a motion.
Yeah, I would entertain a motion to award the bid to Sunbelt was the low bidder.
Well, you got it.
Well, we don't get the ARPA funding. We don't get this ARPA money. We got it one time.
You got it one time.
So
So I've got a motion.
I got a second.
We got a second.
Make sure authorize.
Okay, so yeah, we need a motion to enter into the contract with Sunbelt for the county clerk PBA building at their contracted price and authorize the county judge and any other signatures that are necessary to facilitate the contract. You good with that as your motion?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I said, I think.
And you're good with that as the second?
I thought I heard him say that, yeah.
Any other question or discussion? Other than, I mean, I'd like to get with you and like, what's our next step?
Absolutely.
When is it? I think I've seen something, the completion day, 18 months or 20 months?
Is that what, how many weeks or days? 200?
244 days, I believe.
Okay.
And that's 244 working days,
Right.
Monday through Friday, no holidays. And also,
About a year.
Well, if it rain, I would say it'll easily take a year to do the building.
Okay.
Sure. And with any lead times on equipment, that's what we'll get them to do first, is look at any lead times. Those items be ordered first, and, first order of business we would do is a contract.
I'm still entertaining any other questions at the moment, Counselor, but is there any other questions? Okay. All right. Well, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you guys very much.
Mr. Clerk, you got a lot to take care of when we get done. You got to take care of it so we pass it down generation after generation. All right. Gentlemen, I see Miss Tammy Carey is here with us from the city today. So I guess the Planning and Zoning has adopted the Franklin Forward Comprehensive Plan, which will ultimately have to be adopted by ordinance of both the city and the county. And yes, sir. So I'm assuming, did all of y'all have opportunity to read over the plan? Do any of you have questions about anything? I mean, I've marked a few questions, and Tammy, I'm not necessarily expecting or asking you to answer them, but it's a few questions, and I'll share them. If you want to jot them down, you can, or if you want to talk to me afterwards, I can talk to you about that. There's some things I do want to point out. One, I think it says in here somewhere they engaged up to 1,500 people through a survey. So understand that 1,500 is less than 1% of the population. One question, here's a question, Tammy, and I don't know. There's a place in here where it talks about accessory dwelling units. Are we talking about the possibility of having implemented into planning and zoning to where you could actually build 2 residential dwellings on the same piece of ground? Okay, all right, that's one question I have.
What you said was, Mason? What page was that on?
On page 25 of the book, it just talks about accessory dwelling units could be an additional method of creating housing diversity within low residential areas. So, when we have currently dwelling units and accessory buildings. So like if you have a house and like right now, you can't put but one residential dwelling unit on any parcel of land. Okay? So like even if you owned 100 acres of land and you built your personal residence on it, the only way you're going to build an additional residence on that 100 acres of land is to tract off an acre.
Yeah.
Okay? So, but they're talking about like in low residential areas, which low residential would be the rural areas because high residential is like subdivision and city. So are we saying that on, say, an acre tract that we're going to allow an accessory dwelling unit? I'm just trying to understand what's being asked.
I'll ask that question. Just keep in mind when you look at that, the comp plan really is just a set of guidelines, and nothing can be enacted without changes in the planning and zoning restrictions, that type of thing, which would have to go before city and county, depending on.
But do I understand correctly too that the objectives in the back of this will be what would be implemented into the planning and zoning regulation when both bodies pass this?
So the objectives will be.
And you're welcome to come up to the microphone so
Wasn't planning to say anything, I was just here, well, to answer questions. So, yeah,
Well, I'm not trying to put you on the spot,
Well,
but
you-
it's just, if they're
That's
hearing what
okay.
I'm asking, but
That's
they're not
okay.
hearing, people watching aren't hearing a response.
Yeah, exactly. Let me address, you mentioned the survey with 11, I think it was 1,160 participants, which if you look at our total county population, that doesn't seem like a lot, but I checked with the county clerk's office, in the May 2020 primary, we only had 2,600 people vote. So I look at elections and voting as even more, and I don't know how many people voted in this last primary. I think the Brad, when they did their plan, I think we had 76 people respond to that. So I would love to, hand deliver a survey to every door and say, please fill this out because we want your opinion. And a lot of people say they missed it, but we felt like 1,100 was a good response. The consultant said that was actually pretty high, considering with some of the other communities that they work in. So to address that, the accessory structures, I really don't know, but I have written that down, and I will definitely ask that question, what that's relating to. And I do have a couple of notes. The adoption of the plan and its goals and objectives doesn't change the current zoning ordinance or subdivision regulations. That does require approval from both legislative bodies. So you've probably heard that there are advisory committees or advisory groups being formed that will start meeting soon, and they will take those goals and objectives and look at each one of those and really work toward how can we implement this in our community? What does this look like? There's talking about sidewalks and greenways and preservation of agriculture. That preservation of agriculture was huge. If you went back and read all the comments and the surveys, and even at the public meetings that we had. So really looking at those goals and objectives, and what needs to be put in place, or how do we make those things happen? It may be an ordinance, it may be another committee, it may be seeking out grant funding, just depending on what that goal and objective is. But if there's any change to zoning ordinances or regulations, obviously that's going to have to come before the court and the commission and planning and zoning as well.
So you mentioned advisory committees.
Yes.
Okay, because I'm going to make a statement here that I don't want to be offensive, but I have come to find out that several things I say are taken offensively by people, it seems, anymore. Just as a point of note right here, the county was not really involved in the formation of this document, nor were they involved in the formation of the committee members, nor have we been asked to help appoint or put together these advisory committees. So, so far, this entire document's been driven by the city with, really minimal input, meaning that we had no more input than just the citizens that got to go or showed up at the meeting.
Right.
So, and the reason I say that is over on page 29, it mentions that the most common tool for implementation of the land use map are the city's zoning regulations, but I would think that would have to be city and the county. And these are things, and if you want to jot down the page numbers, Tammy, you can, and then if you have questions about my questions, I'll be glad to meet you and talk with you. On page 35, it talks about the growth area 4, the southern growth area. Obviously, I highlighted this, it's the availability of sewers and capacity issues. I think that's going to be our issue primarily in most of this.
Those people that were talking about preserving agriculture, how many of them are involved in agriculture?
I don't know the numbers.
Because I hear that a lot, and I farm. Last year I was selling corn for $6 a bushel. This year it's $3.90.
And your costs are going up.
And my costs have gone up. So how can you say somebody has to keep it, my ag land has to farm it? if the
Well, I don't-
prices and everything keep going down and there's no subsidies to back that up.
So, in a follow-up, I mean, I didn't know what Marty was, where he was going, but one of the things, if you want to note this one on page 89, under Gold B, Agriculture Heritage, one objective, it says assess and preserve farmland from development. And then the actions that it recommends is to prioritize and preserve critical farmland with conservation easements, and prioritize and preserve purchase or transfer of development rights or other preservation mechanisms. So I guess what I'm asking, according to this objective and goal, are we talking about implementing something that does address the sale of farmland or what the farmland could be used for if you sell it? And bear in mind something here. Yes, I agree with planning and zoning regulations. Like if we're going to do industrial parks, which we have, they need to be in industrial zones. And that's another thing that I do have one issue with this, where we remove future expansion of an industrial park because of a little bit of community backlash. But here's what's at issue here. If we're talking about preserving farmland and being responsible with it, then we should be talking about making sure that future expansions are in areas where we already have that activity. So yes, planning and zoning regulations are very important in that we want to see the zoned activity occurring where we already see it without it just dotting the map, this spot zoning, so to speak, here and there and everywhere. But even at that, which I agree with planning and zoning regulations, but one thing I could never, ever agree with is telling someone whether or not they could sell their property.
Right, and I don't think anybody wants to tell anybody that they can or cannot sell their property,
Yeah,
you know.
but this objective and this one plan of action makes me feel like that's the
But I think
premise
the
of that.
the whole goal of having a planning and zoning commission is to decide what makes sense.
Right.
For years, I worked with junior achievement and went into a third grade classroom, and we talked about development and planning. And, you know, a lot of communities have planners on staff to keep an airport from going in the middle of a subdivision. That just doesn't make sense. So I think it's more of that make sense approach. And I think as a community, we have to decide, what do we want to be? You know, I remember conversations when Jim Arnold was mayor 30 years ago, we want to be like Franklin, Tennessee. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we even had some groups of people that took day trips down to Franklin, Tennessee. Well, I'll be honest with you, I don't want us to be Franklin, Tennessee.
I think we should just be like Franklin, Kentucky.
We should be Franklin, Kentucky. But right now in Franklin, Tennessee, there is 0 ag lands left. The whole entire county has been developed in some manner. I was in Georgetown a couple of weeks ago for a conference, and I almost had a wreck for looking at how beautiful that countryside is. The horse farms and how it's set back and how they've preserved and maintained that. And so many times we have people come into our community and, you know, that have moved here. I get why they want to live here. Same reason we all want to. You drive through the county, you see the beauty of that. You see things that make our community what it is, and that was, I believe, founded on agriculture. And, you know, I'll be quite honest, I'm concerned for my great-grandkids. Where's their food going to come from? Until we as a country realize that agriculture is our most important industry, we're in a mess. I don't want to eat food. We eat enough of it processed in foreign countries. But I had a gentleman tell me the other day, we're losing ag lands at the rate of 4 acres a minute.
Nationwide.
Nationwide.
Not in Simpson County.
No.
Yeah.
But we can only control our little corner of the world.
Right.
You know, you can only control your property.
And the problem is bigger than Simpson County.
It is.
It's got to be addressed at a much higher level than what we can address.
But you got to start somewhere.
The biggest problem is there's only like, 1-2% of the population in the United States that are our farmers.
Yes.
We don't have a whole lot of vote.
No. And how could you go into the business? I mean,
Yeah,
it's so
and a young
expensive.
person today starting could not just go out and start and farm with the way the prices are and everything. I couldn't do it if my dad hadn't been doing it. My son couldn't do it if I wasn't doing it. But the thing of it is and I don't like, I said that a while ago about the farmland. I don't like seeing all the houses built, but you take somebody that has worked their, a lot of people that work a factory job or that work in business, they put money in a 401k. People that are farming put money into land. And so I think if you've worked your whole life and you decide you want to sell it, if you have a choice between selling it to a developer or selling it to somebody in agriculture, you're going to get a lot more money out of the developer. And I don't think anybody should be able to tell somebody you can't sell that to a developer and gain off of what you've worked your whole life for. That's your retirement. That's what you want to do. And I don't like seeing all the farmland developed, but then again, I don't think it's right that we tell somebody you can work your whole life, but you can't sell and get the maximum amount of money that you want to get out of your land. And when there won't be subdivisions, but you get these people moving out in the community that are buy 20-acre tracts or 30-acre tracts. That's not going to agriculture. That's just somebody that wants a big spread of land. And they've got money from somewhere else. And when you take a 20-acre or 30-acre or 40-acre tract, you've took land out of farming. You've took it out of agriculture. So it's not just making a subdivision, putting land into a subdivision is not taking land out of agriculture. You take somebody that they take a 100-acre farm and make 4 tracts out of it and 425, and you've essentially took 100 acres out of it. And then when we talk about cutting or increasing the lot sizes, if you increase the lot sizes to say 10 acres, people are still going to buy the lots. Or you keep the lot sizes at 1 acre, 10 houses on the 10 acres, you've blew 100 acres. If you keep it at 1 acre, so what really preserves more land? If that's the kind of questions that we need to be.
Marty, they did take the 10-acre prerequisite out.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah, all that's been removed, but
you see what I'm saying? If people are going, we're between Bowling Green and Nashville, and we're not stopping that. And I don't like seeing the town, or not the town, but this community, the land being used up the way it's being used up. But then again, you have to understand it's a supply and demand. We have a supply. We're close to the interstate. We're close to Bowling Green. We're close to Nashville, and we're going to have people. And the price doesn't matter, because a few years ago, I could buy land for $2,000 an acre. Today it's 20, and there's people who are still buying it. And if it goes to 30, they'll still buy it. So the price is not going to deter people from buying it.
Tammy, on page 92, it's got an objective to identify and implement mechanisms to preserve existing community character and further developing, strengthening, promoting Franklin and Simpson County's unique local identity. A couple of the action steps. One says develop and implement community design standards and guidelines to ensure that new developments and architectural styles align with the unique character of Franklin and Simpson County. I'm assuming this is beyond the historic downtown district, and who makes the determination that it looks like what it should look like, the government or the developer? Mainly the government?
well, I think that statement's kind of vague. I guess my personal interpretation would be downtown, which we have the Historic Preservation Committee that reviews, and they're working to also develop some standards and guidelines for that expanded district. We started years ago with, I think it was in 2016 or 18, with the downtown area, just to make sure buildings weren't torn down if it wasn't
And it's
necessary.
kind of expanded since then.
And it has expanded. West Cedar Street, it goes on Main Street to the Y and North Street, and then to 1008 on 31W. So that area would be what we call the expanded district. And right now, the only things that need approval are if you would like to tear something down, build something new, do a major addition or renovation, or relocate something onto the property off of. But they're looking at really trying to come up with some design standards and guidelines of what makes sense. You know, we only have so much land in Simpson County. There's only so much adjacent to downtown. What would be appropriate in this area and this area, and kind of do some guided things. Not to say, you know, you couldn't present a plan. Had a gentleman at the Historic Preservation meeting last Thursday that's going to build some small, he listed them as mini warehouses, but they're more like for HVAC service, small business contractor type things at the corner of North Street and Court Street, behind the old high school, behind the old school there. Historic Preservation came in and said, you know, okay, that works. What kind of siding, add some landscaping just to dress it up so that hopefully we can get our main areas coming through town looking good. You know, we've got some areas out at both of our interstate exits. If you really, I think we take for granted a lot of times, we drive by them and you see it, but you don't see it. But as different things come in, are there different standards that could be put into place to make that look how we want it to look as a community and make a better first impression to visitors?
So, and one of the other objectives under that was conduct a comprehensive community character assessment of Franklin and Simpson County's existing community character, identifying distinctive features and characteristics that contribute to the local identity. The comment I'll make to that is that's great in theory, but it's going to constantly change over the course of generations, and
Right.
I don't know how to break this to all of us who are in this range, but the 20-somethings don't view things the way that 40-plus view it, and it's going to change dramatically.
Exactly.
And it doesn't make the 20-somethings wrong.
Right.
It just means
Different.
their world, their view of things are just drastically different than our view. And
Our view of things are different from our grandparents.
evidently way different. I mean, and then real quick, just a couple more points on the very next page, which is 93, you know, to encourage diverse citizen participation and volunteerism. That's great, but gosh, y'all know it's hard to get people just to volunteer to do anything. I mean, trying to get people to serve on a board or do anything is almost...
That's why planning and zoning is the only board that gets paid, because they could not get people to volunteer.
Yeah.
Yeah, who would want to do that?
The only other comment that I'll make here, and this is a lot about land use regulations, subdivisions, little parks, you know, in objective G3, which is on page 99, develop and establish mechanisms to maintain a balanced approach to growth with regard to residential, non-residential, and mixed use. And one of the action steps is require new major residential subdivisions or specific plans to dedicate and improve land for parks and recreation facilities that can be safely accessed by foot or trails from surrounding neighborhoods. And then on the very next page, G5 is enable ease and encourage development of a diversified supply of safe, quality, affordable housing that provides for a range of ages. My point to this is, it all sounds good, but if G5 is an objective, if G3 is put into place, G5 will never happen. There's no way to say to a developer, okay, we want you to do this development, but we want more parks and more space for this and this, because once that developer starts getting less lots and less homes, the cost of every lot and every home is going up. I mean, it's just because if there's no return on the money, they're not going to do it. And so one question I have, because there's a lot of places where it talks about in here affordable housing and different things like the park areas and such, and incentivizing these people. Who's offering the incentive? I mean, is the government going to be paying for some of these park areas, or is the government expecting the developer to pay for the park area but still have low-cost housing? I mean, there's got to be a reasonable balance there, and I can tell you, from the standpoint of a developer saying, okay, we're going to do this and build parks and this and that in this development, they may do it if they're forced to do it. but the lot that would have sold for $40,000 is now going to sell for $60,000, and the house that might have sold for $300,000 is now going to sell for $330,000.
Right. Well, I think overall, we need a plan. You know, we've all drug our feet over the last, 15 years and have not updated one. I was a part of the last two that have been done in our community, and I flip back through those and go, oh, that was some great stuff. Did we implement it all? Oh, definitely not. But I think you have to have that guideline to get down that path. And some things that are written in the book, we know they're never going to happen. Be great if we could, and in 5 years, our community could just be this perfect little spot that we all envision it to be. But I think you have to remember that it's a guide, and there's going to have to be lots of other meetings and conversations that take place beyond just the passage of a piece of paper.
Can you do one thing for me, just as a help for me?
Yes.
Because I won't retain it here, and there's no way I'll be able to write it down fast enough to keep up with you saying it again. Email to me what you were saying about what part of this is actually implemented into the planning and zoning regs, and what the process is perceived to be to get something into the planning and zoning regs. You shared that a minute ago, but I couldn't write it down that fast, and I can't remember everything that you said.
No, planning and zoning has passed this, correct?
Yes.
City commission passed it?
City has done first reading of an ordinance.
Okay, so my understanding from one of the last time Carter was over here, that if the city passes it and planning and zoning passes it, but the fiscal court decides we don't want to pass it, it becomes city exclusive.
Yes, that would
Okay.
be my understanding as
Okay.
well. But then it would be up to the county to do a plan that would be in use for the county. So,
All right.
Mason, I do want to address, you mentioned the members and and I apologize, but I'm going to say this. When we met with Ed and Ryan the first time, we absolutely, we loved it. Could have listened to them all day. Very intelligent, very knowledgeable. A lot of the concerns we had, they kind of chuckled and said, oh, we're dealing with that, and listed several communities. As we went through the process, we established the advisory committee, which met several times, and they sent us a list of people that they recommended, a representative from agriculture, a representative from historic preservation, from arts and tourism, from the school, economic development, all these different categories. So it was, a couple of us sat down, I think there was 4 or 5 of us in the room, and, it was kind of funny because we all came up pretty much with the same names for every category. You just have those community leaders that stick out in your mind. There were no elected officials, no city, no county, and that was by their recommendation. There were 13 members on the committee, 7 of which reside in the county, 6 of which reside in the city. So I feel like, the county was well represented on that advisory committee. I sat in all those committee meetings and took notes. We all have opinions, and if you talk to me for 5 minutes, I'm pretty opinionated on some things, but I didn't say anything. Just kept notes unless a specific city-related question was asked. So I think everybody had the opportunity to attend the same public meetings that everybody else did. So I apologize if you feel like you weren't well represented. That definitely was not the intent. So.
Gentlemen, do y'all have any other questions?
Just for the record, I don't have a problem with the comprehensive plan, and I view it as just a guideline. Every 5 years, it probably will be updated, but it's far better than what we got right now. We have no direction. So I don't have a problem, but I do view this only as a guideline.
Yeah. That's why I want to get an email for clarification of what actually gets implemented into the planning and zoning regs as this is how we address business versus what's just like a recommended guideline.
But still, it can't get in P&Z without us voting and put it in there, right? Us and the city.
That's my understanding, yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So that they have that guide to go by.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Tammy.
All right. Thank you for your time.
All right, gentlemen, budget transfers. We need a motion and a second to approve those budget transfers.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron.
Second.
Second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is a cash transfer of $11,876.96 from the federal grant fund to the general fund. Is it HIDA money? That's what I would assumed. We need a motion and a second to approve that cash transfer.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty and a second by Scott. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then bills and claims, I need a motion and a second to approve the claims as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Myron, a second by Marty. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, reports real quick. Obviously, Thursday is Independence Day. All county offices will be closed in observance of Independence Day. The tourism, the parks, and I don't know who all's involved in putting the parade together, but there'll be a parade come around downtown at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning, July 4th. So don't forget about that. One other thing, and Chief, do you want to talk about the fundraiser that you guys are doing under your report, or okay, well, we'll wait till your report, but I want the chief to make the public aware of this. One other thing, I got a card yesterday, July 11th at 10 o'clock. The city is inviting us to a grand opening of the Hoy Park. Is this the one down by the cave back behind Five Star?
Yes.
Okay.
And so if you could enter, there's two parking lots, but the ceremony will be off Molly Avenue. The county so graciously allowed the city to place a parking lot on that property, so we would definitely like you all to join us. And I think, Mason, I haven't asked you, but I think if you can say a few words at the ribbon cutting, so.
Okay, as long as we don't have to walk around the thing for like more than 2 laps. How long is the trail?
Just over a mile.
Oh, I could make it 2 or 3 times
Yeah.
before I collapse.
I could do that if they Kubota.
Golf cart.
One other thing real quick, we'll be redoing most likely our agreements with the industrial authority. There's been some question about whether these agreements have to be okayed by DLG. The guy from the Department for Local Government in an email to me said that in the formation documents where it talks about occupational tax splits, that a change in those splits would not necessarily have to be approved by DLG.
Okay.
But any other type of agreement would have to be. So really the only agreements we have in place that did not get DLG approval are just where we had changes in occupational tax splits. And the council at DLG says they don't necessarily have to be, but it doesn't hurt that they are. So I think the authority is going to request for simplification matters going forward, that any agreements that are between the county and the authority or between the city and the authority get DLG approval. So we will probably have to redo all of the current agreements we have with the authority on those occupational tax splits. Now, none of it will change. I mean, what we're doing will not change. It's just we'll have to redo them, send it to DLG for approval, and then it'll come back.
And you know, this is brought up by that interlocal agreement that was just sent over there from the city. So maybe the city attorney and the industrial board attorney or the county attorney and industrial need to communicate on this, because actually the industrial board attorney is the one that found this. So
Yeah.
instead of, they need to a little better communication there between the attorneys, and I think that would make both the court, the commission, and the industrial board all flow more smoothly.
Yeah. All right, Marty, anything on your report?
just, the parade on Thursday, I think there's fireworks at the Mint tonight. Anybody that's in about Gold City community Saturday night or Saturday afternoon, we'll start about 3, but we have the community fireworks, music, and water slides for kids. Cookout.
Are you singing?
No, probably not, but I mean, I might. For a donation, I might do that. But no, it's just everybody be safe. I know I've already seen I had a couple of calls and seen some people complain about some fireworks and all, but it's this time of year, so if you're shooting fireworks, be respectful of your neighbors and all, but, don't be out at midnight or 2 and shooting fireworks, but if you do it, just be respectful of the people around you and be safe, and we want everybody to have all their fingers after the fireworks that they had before.
No
Jeffrey?
report.
Scott?
I want everybody to have a good 4th, and again, if you got pets, make sure you keep them in, or keep them on a leash. They may be somebody else's after all the firecrackers go off.
Yeah.
Be safe through the holidays.
All right. Sheriff, you have anything?
Marty, they'll get on it well. Keep pets put up, be responsible. Don't call 911 because somebody's shooting fireworks. People will be shooting fireworks. It's not a 911 call unless somebody's hurt.
All right. Jailer, you have anything?
Just everybody be careful the 4th of July. We got places, we got plenty of space in case you want to get sideways, so.
Yeah, watch your numbers.
So are you saying the numbers are real low?
The numbers are low enough that you better behave.
Chief, do you mind to share, because we're doing a fundraiser for one of the volunteer firefighters, and you kind of headed this deal up, so if you don't, and it'll take place before our next meeting.
Sure. So before we get to that, let me just talk about fireworks briefly. So please, if you are shooting fireworks, use some good common sense. Think about where your fireworks may end up. We have a history of fireworks getting places they're not supposed to be, setting fields on fire, setting buildings, houses on fire.
Yeah, let's not set anyone's house on fire.
Please just be responsible. Think about where those fireworks may end up. When you are done with your fireworks, one of 2 things, just leave them where they're at. Please do not collect them, put them in a garbage bin, and then, bring the garbage bin close to the house, because those tubes do get hot, they retain heat, they will start a fire. So either just leave them, pick them up the next day, or if you're one of those folks that really, really bothers and you have to address it immediately, get you a bucket of water, put them in the bucket of water and leave them in there. Don't discard them in the bed of your truck or whatnot. It will catch on fire. So. The Chinese lanterns, the little things that light and they float away, those are illegal in Kentucky, and they will set a field on fire as well. So please, let's refrain from using those. To the fundraiser. We are doing a fundraiser on July 13th. It is a Saturday. It's going to be from 3 to 7. We'll be at Life Point Church, which is on Witt Road near Simpson Elementary. We're doing a benefit for Ethan Neal. He is one of our volunteer firefighters. He's a young man, 21, I believe, maybe 22 years old. He is fighting brain cancer. There's, obviously a lot of expense, along with that. And, not only the medical, but the travel and housing and all those things. So we're going to be doing a few things. We'll have some inflatables for the kids. There'll be like a wet slide and a dry slide there. We'll have some food trucks that are going to donate a certain, percentage back to us. There'll be a cornhole tournament that I hope I get this right, the Franklin Cornhole Club, I believe. They're kind of heading that up. They're their own entity, but those folks will be there where you can, pay to as a team or whatnot and play, and they'll donate some funds back. So we'll have that going on. We'll have the fire truck there as well. We're doing water for the little kids, and we'll have some kid games like carnival type stuff, to entertain the little ones as well. We are accepting donations, whether cash or there will be a silent auction for sure, maybe a live auction. I don't know, we need to talk about that after the
We're gonna
meeting.
do a live auction. I'm gonna drum some
So you
money
wanna do
up
the
out-
live one
Oh,
as
yeah.
well?
We're gonna get some money.
All right, so we're going to do an auction. Sounds like we're going to be alive. Am I hearing you're going to be our auctioneer? Is that what I'm hearing?
We'll see.
All right, so-
Nobody's throwing tomatoes.
If you, as far as businesses or individuals, if you have something you would like to donate, please just see me or the judge, and we'll get those things where they need to be. So we're going to be doing an auction there as well, and then there will also be a cruise-in, is that the right term, I guess, car show cruise-in type deal that the judge is heading up. So if you have a classic car or whatever, please come, we're accepting donations. Again, we're just trying to, help this young man out, so.
And the judge is gonna be in the Duncan booth?
No.
Well, I don't know about, there will be a Dunkin' booth there. Here
No.
you go. Let me borrow that.
I didn't know if you was gonna be in the Duncan booth or not.
I gotta help run the auction.
Yeah, so,
Well, I can auctioneer if you really want to get in that document.
there you go.
I'll let you get the Dunkin' booth and I'll.
We do have the Dunkin' booth, so I do have possession of it. We did test it out and try it out, so.
I'll tell you what I will do. I will get in the Dunkin' booth if all four of y'all will go do a round in it too.
I'm not sure
I
I'm
like
gonna be here.
So, I am trying to recruit some folks to the Dunkin' booth, so, I will do my round in there, and, not talk to the sheriff's office, but I am specifically was requested, to ask for Matt Freeman, so if y'all see Matt, just tell him he's been nominated for the Dunkin' booth as well.
Yeah. I think we could raise more money dunking Matt Freeman than anything we could do. Sheriff, can you get him there?
I will do my best, sir.
All right.
All right.
What, if people bring, and just like at our place Saturday night with the water slides and out there, if you're bringing kids for that, bring a towel, because.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
A lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, we're
but
going to advertise that a little bit on the Facebook page a little closer to time, because we did secure one of the water slides, and I thought, hey, we're going to do that. We'll bring a fire truck where we can do, I don't know that we'll keep it running all the time, but, certain times we'll spray the water and all. But yeah, you're correct. Towel, maybe a change of clothes or whatever. There'll be a place inside where you can go, restrooms where they
And
can
when
go
you
in
were
there and
talking
change.
about the expense, I know Ethan's a friend of mine, and their family is too and all, but he's in Nashville now for, I think, 30 days doing his stem cell, and his family's staying down there with him, but there's a lot of expense in just traveling back and forth,
Yeah.
and the family staying there and having to eat out. But Ethan's not the only one in the community, but there's a lot of people that have needs, and if we can help somebody out, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
Thank you,
gentlemen.
Chief. Bill, anything with maintenance? Bobby, anything with road department? I do need a motion to do executive session pursuant to KRS 61.810, paragraph 1L, discussions which might lead to the appointment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. All in favor, aye? Aye. All right, we'll run across the hall.
Me
real
and Scott
quick.
always do it, might as well keep on.